AskReddit by Yumika Lu. Parents of Reddit, how do you feel when your kid brings back a girlfriend boyfriend? How do you decide whether you like them or not? It's not up to me to like them, it's up to her. If she does, then I do. I care that my daughter is 1. Safe. 2. Happy. 3. Motivated. 4. Handling her own business. Apart from that, I'm just enjoying watching her experience things, and hoping she includes me in some of that. I come from a middle-class Indian immigrant family and my parents were never cool with us kids having boyfriends. So when at the age of 25 I brought my boyfriend home, they were a bit hesitant and took a long time to open up to him. My mom went all mother-in-law mode and felt she had to keep up appearances. If he came over and she was laying on the couch, she would get up and act all formal. The first day he met my dad, I asked my dad afterwards what he thinks of my boyfriend. His response was, "Don't lose him, that's all." Now he comes over and hangs out with them without an ounce of formality. They all have little inside jokes with him, my siblings included. My parents went car shopping and I didn't get to go, so my dad asked if the boyfriend and I would go take a look at the car one day after work. They just really wanted him to check it out too, which felt so special to me because they value his opinion and he's part of the family now. I never would have imagined that my family would welcome him like this. Melts my heart. Not a parent, but this was my experience with my mother when I was a teen. So, as a teen, my mother pulled me to the side and gave me the gay talk. You know, the "I'll still love you even if you were gay" talk. I asked her why she thought I was gay and she said it was because I never bring any girls to the house. Guess what I did within the next few days? I brought a girl in the house. Guess what my mother did? She kicked her out and gave me a lecture on how inappropriate it was to bring girls to the house. Yes, it makes no sense. Well, next time, bring a boy home. My 4-year daughter introduced me to the 5-year neighbor kid as a BF. She told me he's really good at running fast and he appreciates snails as much as she does. Needless to say, this is a keeper. What is it about fast boys? I remember in grade school the fastest dudes had every girl swooning over them. My daughter just started dating. She was mortified when I picked them up and asked if everything was Gucci. Next time ask if they're having a yeet time. Doesn't work in the sentence, makes it better. My daughter, 13, wanted me to meet her first real boyfriend. I was nice and pleasant, but I knew it wouldn't last cause he was all looks and no brains. Of course, as JI relationships go, it was about a 2-month ordeal. I think all parents should try and be cordial, unless the person feels like a serial killer or something. What flavor cordial should they try and be? When they interact and help out the rest of the family. When my daughter didn't understand her homework and then her sister's boyfriend helped her, it showed how much he actually cared. I like to think I would do this, but I probably wouldn't understand the homework either. Deleted. I honestly hope things are better for her now. It's incredibly sad to watch someone you love so much and unconditionally, to be torn apart and molded into someone else because of their significant other. Most times if you speak up you end up being the bad guy. Life lessons are hard, man. My mother-in-law assumed I was some sort of player when I first met her before my first date with my wife. Even told my wife that she assumed I went on lots of dates back at school. Joke's on her. I spent the entirety of my freshman year before I met my wife, enjoying the sweet internet speed of my dorm room and playing the shit out of Halo 3, Mass Effect 1 and AMP 2, picking up drunk dorm mates from house parties at 3 AM, and going on exactly 0 dates. After years of getting to know my Mel, she just didn't want her daughter to get into a long distance relationship, then end up moving out of state with me if we got married and I was still there. which ended up happening. Whoops. Deleted. My mother has always been accepting of everyone I've ever dated, but realistic about their faults. My family immediately welcomes them with open arms, but just warns me if they seem off for whatever reason. I think it's a decent system. This is how my mom operates. She let me make a lot of mistakes, but always told me what she saw from her perspective and her concerns. However, it always ended with, as long as you're happy, that's what matters. Edit. I had a story about a great future son-in-law who impressed me with his basic decency at the age of 19. Reddit came to the astonishing conclusion that he and my daughter were having sex. Good thing I posted here or I never would have figured that out. If you don't know any synonyms for sex, read on. Are you sure he wasn't just honest and helping her slack off? I have always instinctively known within seconds of meeting them. I've liked all but one of my son's partners, and the one I didn't feel right about was the one who screwed him up. My dad is the same way. But he never fucking told me. After breaking off a 2.5-year relationship and a year of being single, I finally met my current GF. Only then my dad casually mentioned he saw red flags early on for all the shit that broke me and my ex up. WTF, man? Tell me this shit. Edit. Yes, I know sometimes it can go wrong when people try to point out red flags. It can be done well though. And me and my dad have the kind of relationship where we would rather the other said something than stay silent. Mostly though it's more that I wish I had seen them because they were not subtle. I'm not a parent, but my GF's father hates me for some reason. It's been 2 years already. It's gotten better since then though, but still. Edit. Thanks everyone for your comments and support. I see that a lot of people are going through a similar situation. I know it will get better. If anything, when we can finally live together on our own. Stop taking all his booze and having loud sex in his bed. Not a mother, but I'm a sister to lovely brother. He had brought some girls in house in his teenage years, and instantly I would know if I liked them or not. The first one he brought was super rude with me and my parents. She would eat alone in the bedroom when we are having dinner, force my brother to be mean to me, etc. Few months after, the relationship ended in a really bad way. After that, brought some girls, didn't talk so much with them but they were nice and sweet, didn't last long, less than 2 months. The last one he brought, when I talked to her, just one thought came to mind: she's the one. 5 or 6 years later, here they are, living together. Edit. Typos. She ate alone in the bedroom? Not a parent, so I called my mom. She stated, and I quote, "I like all of them until they give me reason not to. Then I never tell you whether I like them or not, so I don't influence your own judgment. I cannot choose for you, although sometimes I wish I could. Mrs. Unappreciated Son." Edit. Spacing. Edit 2. Yes, I'm aware that my mother appreciates me, as many pointed out, lol. It's not her that's the concern. But I appreciate you guys sticking up for my mom, even when it's not directed to her. Thank you guys for pointing it out. Hopefully this fixes it. Edit 3. I like your mom, dude. It's about respect, if she treats him right, and compatibility. On the other end, not her dad, but my girlfriend's roommate is this old grizzled marine dude. She told me that he liked me because I didn't try to get him to like, which apparently most people do. I was just myself and acted naturally, which he appreciated. Just be yourself and the people that will like you, and the people who won't. But always be respectful. You bought him a box of crayons, admit it. My stepdaughter's boyfriend came into my house and we were talking about computer games, and he had the audacity to tell me why Red Dead 2 was better than God of War. In my house. But respect to the lad for that. He stuck to his principles and a year later still argues with me about gaming stuff. You should have started calling him boy in your best Kratos voice. Nothing asserts dominance like a good Kratos impression. My eldest is 15, and boys in high school can be gross. The way they speak to girls, and girls to boys, is just so far out of line it makes me ill. But her boyfriend is respectful to her and her family. Most importantly, they're the same brand of weird. They FaceTime 19 hours a day, I swear, but yesterday they had an entire conversation about penguins, both using the same weird fake Russian type accent. He's a safe place and without very good cause. I'd never get in the way of that. That sounds very cute. Hopefully things continue to do well between them. Well, they've all been fine so far. Except for one. It's the only time I've ever gotten mad enough to kick someone out of my home. He tried to get me to believe that he didn't know what a potato was. That was a blast from the past. https://www.reddit.com/r/tifu/comments/2tdbig/tifu_enraging_by__close bracket. I love to meet his girlfriends. In a very self-serving way, I think his ability to attract charming ladies reflects the quality of my parenting. On one hand, I like whoever brings joy to his life. On the other hand, I prefer to be around polite and well-spoken people. A bit of nervousness on her part indicates that meeting me is important to her. Knowing that being nervous about meeting family can be endearing is good to hear, as somebody who is a very nervous person in general. Not a parent, but my parents have talked about my boyfriends. They like most of them, but my dad said there was one he specifically didn't like right away. I dated that guy for over a year before he cheated on me with his ex and left me for her. My dad said he didn't like that guy because he reminded him of his ex-wife who did the same thing to him. Some people just have good gut instincts. I said, whatever you do to my daughter, I will do to you. I've been stuck giving him emotional support and validation for 3 years. That fucking bastard. He played you like a fiddle. Well, my mother's decision is 90% based on if she's Catholic or not. Can't say I'm a fan of her method. Lol, same here. Gonna be a rough one when she meets my family and mom's like, nah. Gonna support my girl the whole way through though. Easy decision. Edit. Changed pronouns to clear up possible confusion. I feel excited for them. It's that wonderful time at the start of a new relationship, and it's exciting to see them happy and enjoying this new experience. It's still quite new for me and them, so as a parent I'm still learning. I've been fine with all the people I've been introduced to so far, maybe as I know that the likelihood is these relationships won't last, so for me it's not an issue if I don't take to them. Time will tell once their relationships become more serious. One kid started dating at 15. Dates all through college, never broke up and been married 8 years, so you never know. My 5-year-old has a boyfriend that's in her class and I honestly don't know how I feel. I've met him and he's a sweet kid, but JFC she's like his beer wench. Edit. The beer wench comment is sarcasm. Apologies if that didn't come across. Is he a lager or rail guy? My parents both instantly liked the first super nerdy boy I brought home. He didn't even have to talk before my dad was beaming at him. It was weird tbh. I married the nerdy guy, so their instincts were good, so IDK. Eater, my first silver. Thank you kind Reddit stranger fam. My stepmom is pretty anti-nerd, so I was always nervous when my super nerdy husband and I visited. They just seemed like oil and water, with zero in common. Then one day they hung out for 4 hours together in a hospital waiting room while I underwent surgery. To this day I have no idea what they talked about, but my stepmom is now my husband's second biggest fan. She will gush about what a good guy he is for me, and how happy she is that I married him. I really wish I could have heard that conversation. Deleted. My Phil and I disagreed on something mundane not more than 15 minutes after we met. He immediately told me that I am as ugly as a crocodile, his favorite insult. I laughed at that and it puzzled him that I am not intimidated. I told him that it is exactly the kind of thing my own dad would say when losing an argument. At the end of the evening, he told me that I have good manners and that he is proud of his daughter. R.I.P. Phil. Not a parent, but my parents were always fine with my boyfriends. My dad had a sixth sense though. He not only knew on instinct which of mine were off, just off meeting them once, just off a feeling, so he never would have said anything to me, but he knew into seconds of meeting him before JR prom that my best friend's first BF was super slimy and fake. And he was. He was cheating on her, we found out months later. Generally though, I'd say my parents liked most of my boyfriends, but when I brought home my current one, they told me they loved him. And my mom later put it like this, all the other guys were fine, but we didn't seem like good matches. They knew on meeting this one that he was right for me. After a while I think what you really want to look for from as parents is that enthusiastic reaction of a good fit. I don't have to like him. My daughter has to like him. Just like hairstyles. Doesn't matter if I like your hairstyle or not, you're the one who has to wear it. Now, if my daughter asks me advice, or asks my opinion, I'll be honest with her, even if it may hurt, because I care about her and I only want to see her happy. But if I'm not asked, I will welcome the guy, be friendly and kind to him, and keep my opinions to myself. Why? Because she chose him. And if that makes her happy, then I'm happy. Good parenting. I'm sure your daughter is happy to have you. I have a 4 and 7-year-old, I'm dreading that point in life. Yes, I am here doing research as well, lol. It's a respect thing. Do they respect themselves? My son? My home? If the answer to any of those is no, then I do not like them. I always give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that if my kid likes them, then they must be an okay person. I tend not to get super attached as my kid is only 18 and there will probably be more girlfriends in the future. Plus, I am not an overly emotional person who gets attached to many people. I have been lucky that my son has never brought home anyone that I didn't like at some level and I don't want to be that weird mom whose kid avoids bringing their dates around. My daughter is 10 and has been boy crazy for basically ever. I'm sure that until she calms her shit down that I will hate all of them. As a little girl I was boy crazy because I was overcompensating. Be prepared for her to bring home a girlfriend. I was lucky my dad was super chill about that kind of thing. His main rule was always that if a guy drove to the house to pick me up he had to come inside, shake my father's hand, and introduce himself politely. When I was 16 and my first boyfriend cheated on me, I'll never forget my dad saying that I should never stay with someone out of obligation. You are a complete person and you don't need a relationship to survive, even if they make you feel that way, and that was really good advice. My 6-year-old son has his first crush. We just moved into a new house, and on day 2 of living here, the neighbor's granddaughter of the same age was over. I noticed her about the same time he did and told him he should go introduce himself. He decided to get down on all fours like a frog and started hopping around the yard. Then she did the same. Then he stood up, walked over to her, and started meowing. She followed suit and they pretended to be cats for a good 10 minutes before learning each other's names. She is exactly the same as my son and they get along beautifully when they are playing together. Her parents are awesome people too, as is her grandfather, our neighbor. I'm looking forward to watching them be friends over the years. Their introduction was just too freaking precious. My kids are 16 and 23. My goal as a parent now that they are old enough, is that they like me and respect me as a person, not just because I am mom. I think a huge part of that is keeping an eye out for red flag behavior in either my kid or their partner, and letting the rest of it alone. If it turns out that I do like them, that is great. I still try to keep a bit of distance. They are too young for me to consider everyone who comes through the door a potential in-law. I follow my children's lead with how much they want me to bond with so. If it turns out that I do not like them, but no red flags, I make sure to keep it to myself. I have no intention of destroying a great relationship with my kids because their partner is not someone I want to hang out with on my own. I can put up with anyone who makes my kid happy for the length of a sit-down dinner. The only way to a woman's heart is through her parents. Sleep with them and you're in. Edit. Geez, thanks but y'all cancel on the upvotes. It wasn't that funny. Hacker voice I'm in. I put my capybara inside a cardboard box and toss in many pieces of paper, each with a number from 0 to 10 written on it. Then I pick all papers that fall out when the capybara gets out, and the mean number is how much I'll rate the new boyfriend. Math. My kid's not old enough yet, so let me instead explain how my parents screwed this up. They cared way too much about politeness. Politeness is a terrible proxy for whether someone's a decent person. A lot of teens are rough around the edges and not super comfortable in that situation. And it's not just teens. Sometimes awkward or abrasive adults turn out to be wonderful people, and friendly and charming adults turn out to be utter goddamn sociopaths. Avoid the superficial snap judgments. Mom of a 13-year-old. He told me got a girlfriend and I didn't know how I felt about it. At first, I'm like, cool, he feels comfortable, he can tell me things, and then I'm like, why do I feel uncomfortable about this whole thing? It's like the next level parenting and I'm not ready for it. I met her and she's super nice, very shy, and very awkward, so a normal teenager? My kiddo just told me this past weekend she broke up with him and he took it in stride. He said it was expected since she's a year older and in high school now, and even when he goes to high school, won't be the same high school she's at. I told him it's okay. That stuff happens. And still don't know how I feel about the breakup. Personally, I'm not ready for raising teenagers. I feel like I got forced onto a roller coaster and they didn't put on the safety straps and I'm just holding on for dearly. My kids are grown and gone, but I disliked every boyfriend my daughter ever had except for the one she married. I used to be a teenage boy and I know what teenage boys are after. It wasn't until many years later my daughter explained to me that a lot of teenage girls were after exactly the same thing. It's good to have the realization that teenage girls are just as stupid and horny as teenage boys. And if you have a boy and a girl, you can just lecture them about the dangers of the opposite sex at the same time, lol. When I was at the age my parents controlled any aspect of my dating life, every single ex was unilaterally rejected for frivolous reasons, including but not limited to, I knew their parents in high school and they were mean to me, so no, you can't date their daughter. A sister here, but sometimes I feel like a second mother. I'm mixed feelings for my little sister's BF because she kept him a secret for 4 months and lied to us multiple times about a few things. The truth is out now, of course, though not through her own free will, and honestly don't know how to feel about him. He treats my sis well, loves her very much, but I know he's done some drugs, age 15, and some other stuff I'm not very comfortable with. But he seems sweet and she loves him, so I can't do much but provide support and love and advice whenever she needs it and ask mum to do the same as she's less open about these things. Maybe she hid him because she knew you wouldn't approve? My son's first girlfriend is one of my favorite people ever. She and I still spend time together sometimes, like I took her to the movies, even though they broke up. I tried to give my daughter's first boyfriend as much consideration, but he kept doing dumbass stuff that put her in the traditional caring for the bad boy role. I finally told her what I don't like about him and asked her how she would feel about him if she were the mom in the situation. To my daughter's credit, she was able to look at the situation objectively and then broke up with him. So far, my Peruvian fiancé is accepted by my grandma. My parents are radio silent. They are just glad he's not black. Edit. For clarification, I'm white German, possible Native American. They couldn't handle the style of us Peruvian lads. This is really unrelated, but I love telling this short story. When I first met my ex's father, he was walking out of his house drunk. His daughter said, "Dad, this jar germic." This man looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Oh yeah, well keep your hands to yourself," and walked away. Years down the road, her father and I were perch fishing together, drinking a few, having a good old time. I asked him, "Hey Dave, do you remember when we first met and you told me to keep my hands to myself?" He kinda looked at me funny and nodded. I said, "Well, you can see I listen to that, huh?" We both kinda laughed at it. My ex and I have a son that's almost 14 years old now.